Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the public information session for the Central Area Elementary School Boundary Study. I'd like to invite everyone to please take a seat, and we'll get started very shortly. We do have a few opening announcements that I'd like to share with you. Welcome everyone to Cockeysville Middle School Cafeteria. My name is Chris Mercado. I'm a member of the Baltimore County Public Schools Office of Strategic Planning. Our committee members are joining us here tonight. They can be identified by their green lanyards with the green cards on them. And our Office of Strategic Planning staff has some orange cards on them, as well as members of our Cropper GIS team. So if you have any questions tonight, as we're walking around the maps and having conversations, look for folks with the green lanyards on. They will be the ones who'll be able to help you. Tonight kicks off one of two public information sessions that we have planned to share our committee's work with you thus far. The committee has met 3 times up until now and has prepared 4 map options to share with you tonight. We have 4 stations set up around the room. All 4 stations are identical. They contain a current area map on the left, and then maps A, B, C, and D, options A, B, C, and D, and a statistics plot at each of the 4 stations. The format for tonight, we'll have a brief presentation after I'm done with Cropper GIS. They'll talk to you a little bit about how to interpret the data and the committee's work to date. And then we'll spend most of the time in a conversation setting around the map stations with your committee members so that you can ask questions. One of the biggest takeaways from tonight is we're kicking off our survey. The survey runs from tonight, which is November 15th, and is running through December 17th, correct? Mike, thank you. So we have a good long survey open to the public. The survey is accessible through our website at www.bcps.org. If you follow the resource tab at the bottom of that page, there's a link to the Central Area Elementary School Boundary Study. We also have some index cards running around with a QR code on them, and we even have some machines up here if you'd like to take the survey here. The survey can be taken on any internet-capable device, computer, or internet-capable device. Just a few other housekeeping tips. Please take a moment to notice the exits. In the event of an emergency, such as a fire alarm sounding, our preferred exit is through the double doors where we entered and left through the front doors of the school. We do hope everyone took a moment to sign in. Committee members on these green sign-in sheets inside the cafeteria and the pink sheets outside for observers. In the event that we did have to evacuate and gather out in the parking lot, we would use those sheets to make sure that we have accountability for everyone. All the materials you see here, all the materials from previous meetings, including videos, video archives, all the maps that the committee has developed, all the maps the committee has marked up in their considerations, all the data from all those previous discussions is all available on the website. There's also comment forms on the website where you can leave comments for the committee, and the survey also gives you an opportunity to comment on the various options as well as leave your opinions on those surveys. We do greatly thank you for coming out with us tonight. It is your engagement that makes this process possible, engagement with our public and feedback with our public that is tremendously valuable to the committee as they move forward in their decision making. So thank you very much for taking your time here tonight. And we do have another session tomorrow at Lock Raven High School, so I would ask you please refrain from marking up any of the maps because we really would like to reuse them tomorrow evening. Thank you very much, and with that I'm going to give it over to Mr. Matt Cropper.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you all for coming. Really appreciate your involvement and your participation and coming out tonight for this public information session. Like Chris said, we're meeting tonight, and we're also meeting at Lock Raven High School tomorrow night at the same time to make sure that we get maximum input and maximum participation from the public. So tonight's purpose is for you to learn how the community-based process has been working. We want you to review draft boundary options for the elementary schools in this study area and talk with committee members directly around the maps. And like Chris said, Committee member staff have green lanyards, and I'm Matthew Cropper with Cropper GIS Consulting. We have an orange tag, and also James Cooper from my office here, and BCPS staff has an orange tag, but the committee members have a green tag, and so they will be around the maps. Excited to talk to you and have discussions and hear your thoughts about it. Most important part about tonight is for you to talk with committee members and have good conversations with people around the maps, but the most important thing is for you to fill out the survey. So if you're having a conversation with one committee member, it's best to fill out that survey so all the committee can benefit from that input that you want to provide. So please go and fill out the survey after this process is done and after this meeting is over, so that the full committee and everybody who's a part of this process can take advantage of your input. So our process is guided by policy and rules. They call it policy and rule 1280, and that's really what drives the format of our process. It's facilitated by a consultant, and we are the consultants who are working on this project with you guys. But it's driven by a committee made up of parents, principals, people who live in this area. And so the committee, there's about 70 plus people on this committee, and they've been working hard over the last couple of months, working to prepare for tonight and having some maps to share with you. Examining a lot of data, like Chris said, there's statistics you'll see on each station, and those statistics are the data that the committee's been looking at and evaluating as they work towards trying to develop maps and options that best meet our objectives. And ultimately, this group will be the ones who vote on a recommendation to be provided to the board. And they are voting on taking one map to the board for their board's consideration and approval. Even everything is draft, and even after it leaves the committee's hands, it's still in the board's hands as draft. And the board has the ability to make changes to that map or do what they want with the map that gets recommended from the committee. But this is a critical part of the process, and the board is excited to hear input from you and from the committee. Like I said, we're Cropper GIS Consulting. We do this kind of work all across the country. We've done a lot of work in Baltimore County over the years, and honored to be working with you guys on this study, and just honored to be here and helping you to facilitate this study. The Boundary Committee has basically all adjacent schools. The district established a study area to look at, and everything within this study area could be potentially impacted. Everything outside of the study area are areas that are not subject to change. But like I said, 78 members. You've got principals. The principals are non-voting members, but they give very invaluable input. We have teacher and staff representatives, 2 parents from each school, an area educational advisory council chair, and we tell the committee members when they come around the table, they're there to represent their neighborhood. They tell us what things are like, how things are like in the areas that they live and they work and they shop. But we also encourage committee members to think about the big picture. What's best for all children in this study area, even if it may impact the neighborhood that they live in or the school community that they are with. Here is our timeline. So we have met 3 times. We have 2 public information sessions. We're getting back together with the committee in the first week in January, and then there's another meeting at the end of January, and that's when the process comes to a close with the committee, and then it shifts into the board's hands. There will be after the committee makes their recommendations in January or finalizes their recommendations, the presentation to the board will happen in February. And then the board will have a public hearing in March. And that public hearing is where the board will be here, and you guys can come up and you can communicate what's your thoughts about the maps with the board. They're there to listen. You can give your input to the board at that public hearing. And then the board makes their decision in March, mid-March, a vote on a boundary plan. Whatever the plan is at that time is what they will vote on. So why do we have to do this? Why is there a need to do our work? There is 3 schools are projected to exceed 115% utilization in this study area. Timonium and these are the forecasted numbers. You can see that basically several of the buildings are high or they're expected to get higher in terms of their utilization numbers. And that's how full they are. It's 124% of their capacity. And so The purpose of the study is to relieve schools projected to be overcrowded and to maximize use of available space in the study area. So there are some other schools in the area that have some available capacity, looking to see if at all possible or if it's feasible to make adjustments to try to balance out utilization among the schools in this area. This is a large group, a large number of schools, as you could see, and the maps represent our study area, and these are all the schools that are part of our study. So the objectives are to provide capacity relief, like I said, and also to maintain or increase the diversity among schools to reflect the diversity of the region and the school system. So not only looking at utilization and capacity numbers, but also looking at other data and statistics such as the demographics of the school. And what are the demographics of the school now? How are the demographics impacted as they make changes and moves? And one of the objectives is to try to maintain that or increase the diversity if it's at all possible within this region. Though those are the primary considerations that I just mentioned, and that's per Rule 1280. So these are directly from the school district's Rules 1280. There are secondary considerations, other things that the committee is asked to look at and also consider, and those are continuity in neighborhoods. Try not to split the line down a residential street if at all possible. Be mindful of the impact on transportation and pedestrian patterns. Try to maximize walkability if at all possible. If a student can walk to school, try to maintain that if at all possible. Minimize the number of times any individual students are reassigned. So this isn't necessarily a household or a neighborhood per se, because there's been some movement happening that has happened historically in this area to try to address utilization challenges. But trying to focus on that individual student. If an individual student was moved in the recent history, try to make sure that we're not moving that student again, and so that there's some continuity with the student's progression. Be mindful of long-term enrollment capacity, so not only the current data, so these all reflect current data as of the end of the year, September 2022. But the committee also has data on future residential housing and projected enrollment and those types of things as well. The feeder school boundaries and continuity feeder patterns. So this is only an elementary school study. No middle school or high school assignments are going to change as a result of the study. So if wherever you're zoned for middle or high school, that will not change. But it could change. But what could change is the dynamics of how much of an elementary feeds to a middle school. And so that's something that the committee is also looking at, and that's what we call feeder patterns, and that's some data on the charts as well that the committee can orient you on. Also be mindful of geographic features, major highways, railroads, creeks, water bodies, as they try to define the lines, if at all possible. So the committee has done a lot of work to date, studied a lot of information. Like I said, everything is draft still tonight, and even when the committee is finished with their process, it is still draft as the committee works to it and just tries to work towards a recommendation for the board. Nothing's final until the board approves the plan. So you'll see that there are data on the maps that we call planning blocks, and there are little building blocks for boundary changes. So each attendance area has a subset of planning blocks included, and they're not all labeled on these particular plots, but the scale of the study area is very large. But if you look at there's an online map as well that you can zoom in on and see detailed planning block data and numbers, and we have the maps as well. We'd be happy to help orient you on your planning block and where the area is. This just helps the committee understand how many students live in each particular planning block. So 79 kids live in this planning block 412. And this helps them understand if we move an area one way or the other, how many students are we moving? And that helps you guys also understand how many kids live in these subsets throughout the study area. We have the data is also accompanying the maps on our sets. Like we said, we've got 4 identical sets here, so you can spread out, try to get close to a map if at all possible. There's data such as enrollment and utilization. So this shows you the capacity of the schools, what's the enrollment of the school as of the time the point in time when we're looking at it. There's also some movements happening with kindergarten and preschools. Students are returning back to their home schools, trying to get preschoolers the opportunity to go to school at their home school instead of regional programs. So that's also part of what we're doing, is estimating what it's going to be like when those pre-K kids go back to their home schools. And you'll see that here in this post-movement. This is our starting point. You've got utilization percentage, how full is the building, and this tells you how many seats are over or under. If there's a negative, that's how many seats they have left before they get to 100. If it's a positive number, that's how many they are over 100%. And the committee will definitely help you interpret this if you need or want. So for each option, we have the estimated enrollment. This tells you how many, if you want to know how many kids are they expecting to be at a school in each in any particular option, this is how you would show the numbers, how many kids we estimate to be at any particular school in any option. Then we have utilization, like I showed you before, for each option, the percentages and over and under capacity. And then always have the current to show you the baseline. What is it now and what is it with any particular option? Demographic data, so race and ethnicity, we have Hispanic, economic disadvantage, and free and reduced meals data, and then English language learner percentages, so that you can understand the general demographics of the schools now, and then what are the demographics of the schools with each particular option. How many kids are impacted, impact tables, so that you can understand how many students are moved in any particular option. So right now we're about 389 to about 492 students would be impacted in any particular option in this particular study. And these detailed tables tell you how many kids are moving from building to building. The tan ones are the ones to look at to show you 71 kids moved from Hampton to Stoneleigh in option A. So this is kind of that, if you want to know that more, dive in a little more into the impacts. Feeder patterns, this tells you that what I was talking about, how much of an elementary feeds to a middle school, what percentage. Ideally, you want to have 100% of a school feed to elementary to middle. But if you have to split a school, which is very common, it's more ideal to have a balanced split. It's about 50-50 is more ideal. You want to try to avoid really small splits of students from an elementary to middle. Thinking about children and as they go from elementary to middle school, having familiar faces when they go to the next level. People that they know that they're in school with in elementary, that they can go to middle school with kids that they know and went to elementary school with. And then walk zone data, how many kids are within the walk zones currently and in each particular option. So like we said, we have maps tonight. There's a handout. Everything is going to be posted online, I believe, tomorrow morning. Okay, everything's up online right now. And so you can go online to the bcps.org. Under resources, you'll see boundary studies section, and you can look for the Central Area Elementary School, and you can download a handout, the packet of information. All this information is available online. One thing I would definitely guide you to is the online interactive map, croppermap.com/BCPS-CES2023. That's a really good resource. You could type in your address and it'll zoom to your house, and it'll tell you where you are now and where you are in each option, and it'll give you a green notification if you're not impacted, and a red notification if you were impacted. So that's a good way to kind of understand how may I be impacted at my address or any spot on the map. You can click on it. So everything's online for anybody who wants to download this. The survey and everything, so it's designed so that you don't have to be at the meeting to participate in this process. So we encourage you to tell your neighbors, family and friends, people who live in the area, that they can participate even if they can't come to these meetings. They can download and look at the data. This is all being live streamed and recorded. So they can do everything that you guys are doing right now, look at the data and information and fill out the survey, even if they cannot participate here in person. So we have our maps. One thing to look at when you look at the maps is the option maps show the current zones as the black outline, and then the background color is the option. So when you see that the colors change, when you start looking at it, that's what you're seeing and sort of how the options differ when you look at these maps. So there's 4 maps tonight, A, B, C, and D. for you to give us some input on and for the committee. And so this is not an open mic type format for a public information session where the public comes up and talks at the mic. It's designed for maximum input and maximum participation. So when I'm done, which is going to be soon, we're going to invite you to go to the maps. Committee members are going to be spread around the maps. And then we just encourage you to ask them questions. Or if you have any questions about the maps, how to interpret the data, please ask them or come up to us. Anybody with a green lanyard would be able to help you. But it's most important to fill out that survey so everybody can benefit from your input. There's also other ways to provide input. Other than the survey, there's a general feedback form. And that is comments are logged verbatim, and that's something that the committee's been looking at. And we've got a lot of good input over the course of the study so far on that. And public is welcome to come observe the committee meetings as well. Not as participants, but you can sit back and watch the committee do their work at the meetings if you want. And everything is also live streamed, so you can watch it from your couch as well if you prefer that. You can also attend the Board of Education public hearing that I talked about on March 6th if you want to share your input directly with the school board. Okay, so our next scheduled committee meeting is January 4th, so we have a good break. Like Chris said, the survey is going to go all the way till December 17th, and we'll close it down, summarize the input, and provide it to the committee and also you guys. And we'll be regrouping with the committee on January the 4th at 6 o'clock. And that's at the Carver Center. So I think that's all we have for the presentation. Thank you guys so much for coming. We look forward to talking with you on the maps. We'll go ahead and let you guys go and have conversations. And thank you again for coming.